Now, just going to highlight the Republic to the Imperialists, the Punic Wars, and thereafter. For the expansion, Rome had already had control over most of the Italian peninsula, and the reason for that expansion was diplomacy, a well-trained and loyal army, a tolerance to those groups that they were defeated, and they gave rights to many of the conquered people, and of course the roads. They built those roads so that the legionnaires could get there quickly, and also information could be passed quickly. Now this is Rome, again around 218. This is just after the First Punic War. First Punic War is what allows them to take on a stance of imperialism. And with that imperialism, they were able to take over Carthage, Macedonia, Greece, and parts of Asia Minor. They all became provinces, and with those provinces, again, they could maintain their culture. They just had to refer back to Rome and follow their rules and pay tribute to them. So for the First Punic War, actually begins on the island of Sicily. The Romans assist the people of Sicily to rebel against Carthage. Now, Carthage was a Phoenician trade city, which then becomes an empire. Punic is Latin for Phoenician, so hence why it's called the Punic Wars. So they assist the Sicilians in gaining their independence, and they also gain the islands of Corsica and Sardinia. This now infuriates the Carthaginians, and this then leads to the Second War. Hannibal, as a 9-year-old, vows eternal hatred for Rome, which is kind of twisted for a 9-year-old, but he is very angry. Not that Hannibal. There you go. That's the real one. So he then takes control after his brother-in-law somehow is assassinated, and with that he then builds a massive army and leads them to Rome. Now he goes a roundabout way, which is a really bad idea. Instead of just crossing the Mediterranean, he decides that he's going to walk by land from Spain, the Carthage province in Spain, and walk all the way along the coastline until they reach Rome. Now, he brings his elephants, which are a great idea when you're talking about battle, but they're not the most nimble of creatures. And he loses all of them, or almost all of them, crossing the Alps. He takes that route. He gets into Italy, can't break the Roman walls, so what he does is he just hangs out in in Italy, and rips up and down the Italian peninsula for several years. He actually gains an ally with the Macedonians, and that then begins the Macedonian Wars, which Rome is fighting off and on in between the Punic Wars. And it's not until Scipio Africanus leads and turns the tables and leads the Battle of Zama, which ends Hannibal's reign and ends the Second Punic War. And there you go. The Battle of Zama in 202, led by that guy, Scipio Africanus. He is now famed after this. And after the Second Punic War, they allow Carthage to again maintain its independence. They just had to refer back to to Rome, but they were not allowed to raise an army or become as powerful as they once were. So they lose a great deal of their land power, but they maintain their independence. And that then leads to the Third Punic War. Many Romans are still bitter, even though it's close to 50 years or over 50 years since the end of the Second Punic War. So there is one censor who is named Marcus Porcius Cato. Cato would get the stand in the middle of the Senate and end every speech with, I declare that Carthage must be destroyed. And eventually the senators just don't pay attention to him any longer. So he goes to Carthage, he steals a fig, brings it back to the Senate floor, and pours the figs all over the Senate floor, and then uses them as an example of Carthage rebuilding, and that they are going to overthrow the Romans if they don't do anything about it. So Carthage is then completely destroyed. They dump salt into the soil so that nothing can grow, and they just take everybody into captivity and slavery. So the Third Punic War is instigated by Cato and really puts an end to Carthage. But then you have the beginning of the end for the Republic. You have a large slave population, which is beneficial for those large latifundia or plantations, but not good for the small farmers. So you have small farmers no longer needing to produce food, so they are now out of work and looking, and that increases the crime rate. The new wealth increases corruption within the Senate. The farmers are moving to Rome looking for those jobs. Self-interest and greed replace the simplicity, hardworking, and devotion to duty that once was the farmers and the values of the Romans. And then last, you have civil wars breaking out. And this now is there are attempts to fix the revolutions or the Civil War. You have the Gracchus brothers, Tiberius and Gaius Gracchus. They institute reforms of land redistribution and then employment and public works. They also extend citizenship. That doesn't work, and there's a revolt led by senators who want the Gracchus brothers out, and the Gracchus brothers then end up being assassinated. Tiberius is found in the Tiber River. Gaius is never found. So they were voices for the people, and they were then silenced. You also have Gaius Marius, who is a general elected to consul 5 times. This shows that that rise of the military power. And then Cornelius Sulla, he is a general as well. Look at that face. He attacks Rome with a legion and names himself dictator for life, but instead of being the negative idea of a dictator, he actually institutes very democratic and Republican-minded reforms, and he retires after he feels that Rome is in a better place. So just thinking of what we've already looked at, other rulers that have done similar things, he is doing it for the good of Rome and not for the good of himself. So 133 is when it's at its height, the empire, and just showing you it's as far east as the Tigris River and as far north as Britain. Now, after the Gracchus brothers and Sulla fail to maintain control, even though Sulla leaves as he feels at a good time, you then have the establishment of the first triumvirate. You have Caesar, who is the military man, Crassus, who is the money man, and Pompey, who is the war hero. Sorry, I had to put Sulla back up there. But these 3 men, with their power, maintain order, and once they maintain order, they Caesar then goes off for his military campaigns. Crassus tries to do the same thing because Pompey and Caesar are both generals. Crassus wants to get in on it, but Crassus is not a very good general, and he's actually annihilated in the first battle that he leads. So he's out of the picture. And then Pompey is hanging back in Rome and acting as an emperor. Well, Caesar is off dominating and expanding the empire, which everybody likes. He conquers Gaul, which is a great feat because the Gauls were known as some of the most formidable tribes in Europe, and Caesar's getting a lot of fame back home. Pompey's jealous, so he orders Caesar to come home. He disobeys Pompey's orders, so Pompey raises an army to fight Caesar. Caesar then defeats Pompey. He crosses the Rubicon, makes his famous statement, Veni Vidi Vici, I came, I saw, I conquered, and then returns home and becomes that, names himself that dictator. But when Caesar takes over, he institutes many reforms. Now these are some of his reforms, many of them benefiting the lower class, and just something to think about. Why would he want to put into place these reforms? The last one in 44 BC is one that was not a huge fan, especially for the Senate. They did not like it very well, so that dictator for life. Oh, and I'm sorry, he also named himself the Pontifex Maximus, the head, the religious head of state. So he actually takes that title as well. Something also to think about: why would he do that? What would be the benefit of naming himself the religious head of state? Now this is the Republic under Julius Caesar. Again, it expands a little bit later. But then his time comes. The legend is that an oracle warned Caesar, beware the Ides of March, the middle of March. His wife has nightmares, and he then goes to the Senate that day and is then stabbed in the back by his friend Brutus and utters the words "et tu, Brute," very Shakespearean, and he is now dead, which then starts another massive civil war and civil unrest. This then leads to the creation of the second triumvirate, Mark Antony and Octavian, who are both military men, but very close to Julius Caesar. Octavian was Julius Caesar's adopted son. They form up with Marcus Lepidus, who is again, money man. They need a money man. And they then take out all of the senators that are responsible for killing Julius Caesar and then consolidate that power. Now, again, Mark Antony, trying to be similar to Julius Caesar, he goes off and he then settles in Egypt, and Cleopatra comes in and breaks up Octavian and Mark Antony. Mark Antony is actually married. Oh, hi, Cleopatra. Welcome. Cleopatra is actually married to, Octavian. Mark Antony is actually married to Octavian's sister, which is awkward. And Cleopatra has a son with Julius Caesar, which also makes a very complex web. It's more like something you'd see on Jerry Springer. But Octavian believes that, and it is rumored that Cleopatra was talking to Mark Antony about taking over Rome and making it then a part of the Egyptian Empire. So Octavian goes down, and at the Battle of Actium defeats the Egyptian navy, and Mark Antony and Cleopatra are now dead, and this now allows for Octavian to now take control. And this now begins, of course, the beginning of the empire. He names himself Princeps, or first citizen, again taking a note from Julius Caesar of what not to do. He does not name himself dictator for life. He names himself first citizen, which gives it more of a republican idea, although this is the end of the republic. He then names himself Augustus as well, and with that he establishes a civil service which provides jobs for qualified people, not just because of who your family is, but what you can do. He also has everyone pledge allegiance to him and look for those allegiances. But he also institutes a hereditary line which allows for his family to maintain control. Economic reforms, he calls for a census. He has a postal service with the use of those roads, the first mail service, and then coinage, uniform coinage. This is then also the beginning of the Pax Romana, the Roman peace. Now, I know that was a lot to take in, but tomorrow we will discuss a little bit more in detail the roles of women and more of the breakdown of society. So tomorrow we will be discussing those classes. So have a great night. Now your assignment for today is determine the factors that led to the fall of the Roman Republic, and is the Conrad-Demarest model applicable to this topic. So we'll discuss this later. Have a great day.